He's been here forever.
Hey there.
I'm going for a walk.
Hello.
Hey, Coach Denny.
Hey, who
How's it
do I
going?
have? Nicholas.
Yeah,
It's very
that's
good,
right.
thanks, man. How are you?
Great, great. Can you hear me normally?
Yeah, but we seem to be out of sync. Let me just refresh my page and see if I can get a better connection.
Great, great.
All right. How's that? Any better?
I think
Yeah, it's
yes.
good.
Can you hear me normally now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, just your mouth was out of sync with your audio.
No, yeah. No,
All
that's
right.
that's okay. It's great.
Nicholas, please take a moment and introduce yourself, please. I can see on your profile who you are, but it's good to hear from you.
Sure, yeah. Basically saying 21 years old now. I have a solid background on technology. So since from college, I graduated on systems development, and my first job was working for a consulting company since February 2024 to July this year. And then I moved on forward to a new company that is basically a franchisor in Canada, Toronto, that basically just manages a lot of franchisees, you know. So since from like private tutoring to home care for elderly people, window cleaning, all the stuff, you know. And my journey here on Cambly, I've been studying here on Cambly for a year and a half, I would say. And at first, I had a really good knowledge on English, so I had a vocabulary. I could understand in a very good way when I tried to talk to native people, but I didn't have the confidence. You know, I didn't have the practical experience when talking to people and other types of situations. You know, just not just talking about some basic topics. And since then, Cambly basically helped me reach a very good level in English. And nowadays, I'm just trying to seek more fluency when it comes to getting in contact with more types of accents with other people. And that's it.
Sounds good, man. Your English is very good. That's for
Thank
sure. So well done on your journey and well done in building your confidence. I'm sure now you're working for a Canadian company, you're speaking English a lot more than
Yeah,
you. And also, congratulations on your new job.
thank you. Thank you.
So let me
Um,
introduce myself quickly so you know who I'm talking to. I know you can see my profile, but let me give you an updated version. So
yeah,
my name is Coach Denny. I'm a boxing coach. It's my main job.
that's great. I love boxing.
Yeah, me too, man. It's been my career. I've had two careers. So my first career was in the military. I was a Royal Marine Commando. I joined those guys when I was 16 years old with the big ambition that I'm going to be one of these elite fighting guys. And everyone
Hmm.
laughed. Everyone in my hometown laughed. And like at 16, my voice was still squeaky. You know, I spoke like a child. I didn't shave. I didn't have you know, I was a little kid, but I was a boxer, and I knew that it doesn't matter what they throw at me. Physically, I knew I'd be okay. Mentally, I thought I was quite mentally strong, but everyone thought I was just a child, you know. But I passed. I became a Royal Marine Commando by the time I'm 17 and a half. So my next 20 years really was in the military. I had a little lull. I had a little lull around 1998, 2002. I sort of left the military. I thought I had enough, and I studied IT. My father was a computer engineer, and then was a computer scientist by the time he finished his career. So he was building computers in my home when I was like 5 years old. So I was always with a soldering iron, building motherboards and programming in DOS back in the day.
Yeah.
And you know, I was computer. I had an understanding of computers, so I wanted to help my dad's business, and I worked with my dad for 4 years, or 3.5 years, something like that. So I got a good understanding of IT, which was a nice little buffer for my life.
Yeah, that's a very eccentric background, you know, I would say.
Very good,
Yeah,
man.
but
You know, but then, unfortunately, in America, the 9/11, the terrorist attack in 9/11, I was training to be a professional boxer. I was in the computer industry, and when that happened, I said to my dad, "I got to go back to the military." and he
Hmm.
was begged me not to do it because of what I was doing with him. And I said I can't help it, man. I gotta go. So I went back into the military, and I spent the next sort of 10 years there.
Yeah.
I was the head of security of the Iraqi government for three and a half, 4 years of that time. And then when I came back, I said, no more war. I'm done. I was done with war, and I opened my first boxing gym and started my new journey.
Yeah, that's great actually. You see, something that I noticed, at least here in Brazil, I live in São Paulo,
Yeah,
for example, here in Brazil, we don't have that patriotism as in America, because I know it's a very strong culture to be patriotic about the country, about the roots and the culture in general. But here in Brazil, we don't have that. Actually, nowadays, since the government has been more extremist to the left wing, and it's been like a shit in here, uh,
yeah,
good people, I would say like that. It's just left in the country, leaving the
yeah.
country to other opportunities. So yeah, that's a nice thing.
But you know what? It's the same. I'm from Scotland. I'm from the UK, and it was strange because joining the military was against my family's tradition, and my family were kind of
Hmm.
anarchists, you know. And there was a war going on in Ireland with the British. So I'm a Catholic. I'm a Scottish Catholic.
Yeah.
So a lot of my friends, my peers, my family, they supported the Irish Republican Army in their fight for freedom. So me joining the military was going against the grain of everyone, and
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
see.
a bit weird. But after I'd sort of served my first term with the military and then came out for 4 years, it was tough because a lot of my family hadn't spoke to me in 10 years, and yeah, so it was crazy. But
Hmm.
the 9/11 thing was a little bit different. I decided, well, you know, there's
Yeah.
enough bad people in the world. Let me go catch some of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And basically here in Brazil, the army is basically a joke. It's like if you try to apply to the army, if you don't have like superior education, don't have any of that. You're going just to cut grass all day long and paint on the streets and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's funny, because in other countries, I know that the military culture is very strong, but here in
Well,
contracts, and I,
your country doesn't get itself involved in many wars, so you're probably lucky with that.
yeah, yeah, for
My
that for
country,
that reason as well.
unfortunately, my country in America, for some reason, my country thought a long time ago, it wanted an empire, so it went around the world and sort of created its empire. And then the empire fell and
Hmm.
America took over the empire. So my country in America, they've been involved in every kind of war pretty much globally.
Yeah,
So we're fighting men, as they call us. But I tell you, after having my 20 years or so experience in the military, war is evil, man, and it should be outlawed. It should never be allowed to happen. It's
yeah, yeah.
rich
It's
men
just
sending rich men sending poor men to kill each other. It's pretty sad.
yeah, yeah. It just destroys everything. Wealthy richness. It doesn't help in any aspect of the society. Even with the winner, you just lose. Because uh, you're just going to lose everything: property, man, wealthy, everything.
Limbs. Yeah, like I have a lot of friends who've lost legs, lost arms, a lot of friends who came
Exactly.
back, lost their life to suicide. So
Exactly.
there's a you know what, man, when I was young, I thought it was really important for people like me to stand up, volunteer, and go protect people who live in my country. And then when you're going through it, because we were special forces, when you're going through the training, they're telling you about all the bad guys in the world and how much they want to kill us, right? And that's it's brainwashing 101. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's
you're
pure
going around,
propaganda.
yeah, you're going around the world. There's a lot of bad people in the world, Nicholas. And what I've learned in life is there's more influence with the bad people than there is the good people. The good people generally are passive and don't fight for big things, but the
Hmm.
vicious, bad, and evil, they do, right? So you'll always need a military. You'll always need a defensive force. I think that should always be the case. But going into
Yeah.
other countries and fighting wars on behalf of someone, for example, Kuwait, their first Iraq war in 1991, I was involved with, that was a
Hmm.
contract. That was a contract. It wasn't a war to save anyone. It was a war to get the oil separated from Iraq and from Kuwait. And I didn't
Hmm.
realize until just a few years ago, the reason that war started is because Kuwait had horizontally drilled into Iraq's territory and were stealing Iraqi oil. That's why that war
Hmm.
started. And then the British and Americans, we were contracted as governments, contracted to go to Kuwait, push the Iraqis back across the border so that sovereignty would then be back in Kuwait. And
Hmm.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize until about 10 years ago that's why we fought that war. And then I started realizing, wow, war's a business. It's not morally what you think it is. It's actually about money. So yeah, it's bad, man. But hey, that's my life. That's my story.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. But yeah, about the physical activities, I've really like boxing. I think I've been training running and hitting weights, boxing for at least 3 years. So yeah, I really like this word as well.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. And boxing? You doing stand up boxing? Are you kicking as well? What's you?
No, just the traditional boxing, you know. Just it's more of a hobby. I'm not an amateur athlete, you know, even though
Yeah.
I train a lot.
Do you
But for
spar?
example,
Do you get in there
what?
bit of sparring?
Yeah, sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes. I remember I fought in the ring like 2 times. The first one, my coach scheduled a tougher opponent for me, and I lost, obviously. But the second one, I was more prepared. I trained more, and it was more of the same level opponents, and I win by points, you know. But
Brilliant.
it wasn't. It is nice, you know, training. I think it's one of the main things that makes me feel alive. I would say, you know. So yeah, it's very nice.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it, man. I love people who find things like that in life and it becomes a lifeline. You know, I was 11 years old when I found boxing. I was 9 years
Hmm.
old. I was in karate. And that's a quick funny story. The karate sensei, he kicked me in the chest one time. He's about 30 years
Wow.
old. I'm like 11 years old, and he kicked me in the chest. And my first response was to dive in, bam, punch him in the face. And his nose bled, right? And my dad had made a big deal about me going. My brother was at karate for years. He's 3 years older, so he was like a karate champion. I went along with him, and I was supposed to be champion alongside him. But my mentality is a little bit more aggressive than my brother. I was, I was a defender. I was always a warrior. You know, my brother wasn't really. So when this guy kicked me, I was like, "Ah!" I punched him, made his nose, and he banned me from karate. He sent me home. And I looked at
I
my
see
brother.
why.
And I was like, I'm like thinking he's going to back me up and come with me. And he went, I was like,
But
oh. I was like, oh. So I went home, and I'm only 11 years old, right? So my dad had made a big deal about buying the new karate uniform. I was a blue belt, so it was all these little outgoings of finances. He was always telling me, you cost me too much money, you kids. And I was like, I only had it like 1 week or something. So I was panicking. I walked home. I was crying, and I walked in, and my dad was reading the newspaper, and it was a Tuesday night. And I remember because boxing's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so this must have been a Tuesday night.
yeah.
And I said, Dad, he went, "What are you doing home? You should be at karate." And I was like, "Yeah, I just got banned. I just got chucked out." And he was like, "I'm from karate. What did you do?" I said, "This guy kicked me and I just punched him in the face." And he starts laughing. Yeah,
Yeah.
he went, "I knew you were a boxer. All right, tomorrow night you go to the boxing gym." That was it. And I said, "That's it." He says, "Yeah.
Wow.
Go upstairs and change your karate uniform." So I wasn't in trouble. I was so happy to not be in trouble. The next night I went to boxing. I write about it in my first book. And I'm only 11, right? So I'm still nervous, man. I'm still a little nervous kind of guy. You know,
Yeah.
you've got that brave moment, right? So it was in the same building, but the boxing gym was permanent, whereas the karate was like an office that they used to change around for karate, right? The boxing had boxing
Mm-hmm.
bags all around the walls and the ring and all these different things. So I go to walk into the boxing gym, and it's this heavy fire door in this old Victorian building, right? So you've got to really push it. I'm only a kid, right? So you've got to really push it. I walked in, and the door shuts really loudly. Right? And everyone in the gym stopped skipping, stopped punching, stopped shouting, everything. And they all looked, and I must have went as bright red as this pen, man. My face just went. I'm standing there,
Yeah, I see.
and I looked behind me at the door. I don't know why I looked behind me, and it said on the door, "Don't let the door slam."
But
And after Mackay, who became my coach, he went, "What are you doing here?" I was like, I just thought I'd come and watch boxing. And he picked up a set of skipping ropes and he threw them at me, and it hit. But that guy hit me the night before, which was quite bruising, and I was like, oh. And he went, start skipping or F off and go home. And I was like, I
yeah,
don't know how to skip. I
I don't
just
know.
watched,
Yeah.
that guy. I tried to do what he was doing. After a few rounds, the next coach came up to me and put a set of hand wraps on. They were just, bandages. And
Yeah,
that was it, man. I was hooked. That was it. I found my
that's
home.
nice.
I was home, and I would go there three
That's
times a
great.
week. I would train with them in the weekends. And for the rest of my life, man, I've been in the boxing community. I just love it, man. It's great.
Yeah, you tried being an athlete, pursuing that career in boxing.
I did, man. Yeah, I was a champion in the.
Oh wow!
Another little funny story, because I'm only 11, right? So I have my first fight when I'm 12, so I win that fight. I have my second fight when I'm 13, I win that fight. Then I lose between the age of like 13 to 16. I lose 8 fights in a row.
Wow.
Everyone's telling me you should give up boxing, man. I'm like, no, I'm good at this. In the gym, I'm good in the gym. I can spar. No one can
Mm-hmm.
touch me. I'm good. But as soon as the first 2 fights, Archie Mackay had given me to another coach, a guy called Johnny Morrissey. He was a professional champion, like 50 fight professional
Mm-hmm.
European champion. Old guy,
Wow.
all my age now, but he was my age back then. And then he was a big, heavy drinker. So he went on a binge and was drinking and never came back to the boxing gym again. I never saw Johnny again in the boxing gym ever, right? I don't know
Wow.
what happened. But because he was my coach and he was brilliant, right? I was really
Mm-hmm.
nervous the next time I went into the boxing ring because I was with a different bunch of guys. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
rub my legs like he did. Just little things, man. And I just felt uncomfortable when I lost that fight. And then I lost the
Mm-hmm.
next one, and I lost the next one, and I had a little break, and I lost the next one, and I lost 8 fights in a row. And then I joined the military, and I was 56 kilograms at 16 years old. I joined the
Wow.
Royal Marine Commandos. I become 67 kilograms. I'm a little bit taller, and
Mm-hmm.
asked for volunteers to fight in the boxing championships, and I was like,
That could be it. Yeah.
hands down. No, I don't want to fight again. I've lost 8 fights in a row. I'm like, oh man, I embarrass myself with my friends back home. I don't want to embarrass myself with the friends in the military. And
Mm-hmm.
they had it on the record I was a boxer. So they just read out the list. Denny, you're boxing. This guy, you're boxing. This guy. But
Yeah.
it was an amazing experience because I'm 10 kilograms heavier. I'm a little bit taller. I'm stronger because I've done marine training.
Yeah.
I knocked the guy out in the first round. Then the next fight, I knocked the guy out in the first round. The next fight, I knocked the guy out in the second round. I just keep on winning. And the next 65,
Wow.
65 fights, I don't lose, mate. So
Wow.
was a great lesson and never give up. You
Yeah.
know, but then I became the military. I became the Royal Marines boxing coach as well. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized, wow, boxing coaching is as equally as enjoyable as being a champion. So yeah, it's been
Mm-hmm.
my life ever since, man.
Yeah, and that is true because since I've started training, this is something that it shows me to never give up, to persist on what we want, on our objectives, even though we're failing, even though we're defeated, even though we're on the ground, we have to stand up and keep fighting.
It's a
That
great.
always worked for me.
I know, man. I tell people I write. I'm an author also. I write books, and I tell people, man,
Ooh,
look,
wow.
if you want to achieve something, you're probably going to lose a lot in the beginning until you understand the reasons why. And it's those losses, for me, those 8 losses, I'm only young. I'm like from 12, 13 years old to 16 years old, I'm losing all these fights. But I'm learning life skills that I've never realized would be important. At points when I was a kid, I didn't want to go to school. I was too embarrassed. I kept on losing fights. So I'd wake up in the morning, just again, go red as this, and just, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I've lost another fight. I don't want to go to school. And my dad would say,
Yeah.
Denny, you've got two choices. Stop boxing, put this behind you, or walk out that door, go to school, and say you tried your best. That's all you can do. And I would go
Yeah.
to school, and no one laughed at me. They were more concerned. Are you okay? You know, big black eyes. Are you
Yeah.
okay? Oh, yeah, I'm fine, man. I don't know what happened, but I could tell now, looking back in hindsight, I was nervous. I was scared. I wasn't able to perform like I could in the gym, in the show, because I was so scared of losing. And the Marines taught me, be scared of nothing. If something's making you afraid, just breathe deeply. This was one of the greatest lessons I ever learned. A guy called Ricky Miller. He said, breathe deeply, saturate your blood with oxygen, and it will take the anxiety away.
Yeah.
And he breathed with me for about 3 or 4 minutes before I walked out to the ring. And I knew that day when I just felt great. You know, his breathing techniques helped me. And I knew I was going to win that fight. I didn't realize I was going to win it in the first round. But I knew I was going to win that fight, and then every time I had a fight after that, I knew I'm going to win this. I didn't have any fear. I just knew that I'm the best boxer
You're
in the world.
prepared.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
the world champion. That's all I believe. I'm going to be world champion. But
Yeah.
that passion I lost that passion during my military career because we were so busy fighting wars. You know, but
Yeah.
when I faced the military, I said, okay, man, I may have missed my opportunity to be the world champion, but I'm going to make sure that I give other people the ability to be champions too. And that's what I've been doing
Yeah.
for 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really nice. It's nice that you had a experience it because it makes us, what I mean is, for example, I probably won't be fighting again. I'm just training for a hobby to clear my
Yeah,
head, to
absolutely.
to take it off all the stress from the corporate life and stuff.
Yeah,
So anyway, the time that I was preparing for my second fight, uh, I knew it would be a good thing because it put us under a stress that makes us tougher, So, and the preparation is nice for us because, for example, even though you don't know if you're going to win or not, and for example, let's say, okay, I win. It's the training, the hard work that you put on the table that created the win for you. It's not like it came out of the sky from you and just on your lap and out of nothing. So it is a good thing, even though like I don't find the ring anymore. It's something that I will always remember because it's something that really marked me, all the training with the team on the gym, the long runnings I used to do, the
yeah,
sparring sessions I used to do, something that deeply marks us. So yeah, it's a very nice thing.
awesome. I'm trying, not so much now, but a few years ago, I was trying to get, um, well, when I was young, this would have worked, but in the current state of the world, boxing is considered really violent, right? But
Yeah.
I was saying to some councillors of my local area, I said, look, we should be having boxing in the curriculum for the kids' PE. You know,
Hmm.
they don't have to punch each other, but they have to learn how to punch. Yeah,
Hmm.
it will reduce bullying. It
That
will
is true.
reduce stress. You know, it will give the children an opportunity to realize that fitness is important. It's an
Hmm.
opportunity to tell them about food so that they can request good food choices with their parents. You know, I want more vegetables. I want all that sort of stuff. Everyone was in agreement, but as soon as we took it to the government level, they squashed it. Boxing's too
exactly.
violent. Boxing's too violent.
Yeah, and there's many other approaches because, for example, I remember one training, these sparring sessions were uh, they were not that hard, you know. It wasn't the hardest part of the training. It was
Yeah,
actually the easiest because I went under so much training, like skipping and training shadow boxing and all the other stuff from the training that I was so tired. Uh, when it came to the sparring sessions, it was the easy part, you know, because you
it's easy.
already under all of the hard part.
Yeah.
And so for the curriculum for the kids, you don't need to actually add the sparring sessions.
Yeah,
You
but
mean?
the way we do it with the professionals, right? Because we can't. We've learned a lot about brain injuries in boxing over the years, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it was. I don't know. Just when I was younger, and I'm talking adult younger, but when I was younger, we lost 3 or 4 boxers with brain injuries within 2 years
Yeah.
in Scotland,
Hmm.
right? And we did that. When I was younger, there was no sports science. There was no biomechanics of the body degrees. There was no
Hmm.
degrees, right, for things. But then they did a case study on boxers and the boxers who died. And what we found was that the guys who had died in the competitions had been seriously dehydrating themselves to make the weight. So they
Hmm.
made the weight for the first time in the days before the fight, sometimes on the day of the fight or on the day of the weigh-in, the fight
Hmm.
next. And what we realized was we couldn't. Your brain is 70% water, so when you dehydrate yourself as extreme as they were doing, their brain was dehydrating. So they had an abnormal sized brain going into the fight, meaning smaller. So every time they get hit, the brain was shattering against the skull, right? So it
Hmm.
was in the wrong shape. And that's why it caused the brain injuries. So we started realizing if we bring people's weights to get them to their weight a week before the fight or 2 weeks before the fight, and they just maintain it, then we don't run the risk of that injury.
Yeah.
If we don't have brutal sparring, because we used to brutally spar every time we sparred, it was brutal, right? We realized if we technically spar, right, where let's say I say to you, okay, Nicholas, throw 10 slow jabs, well, not slow, but 10 slow jabs at my forehead, and then I move out the way of them, and I
Yeah.
and I say, okay, speed that up a bit, and then you can move it out. So you're training your eyes coordinate. So you're using sparring as a training tool, and then at the end of that type of sparring of 10 rounds of that, and going back and forth and doing
Hmm.
combinations, blocking the combinations, and then the last 3 rounds are brutal. Do you mean
Yeah.
you've warmed yourself up to the brutal? So the brutal is easy, and then 3 weeks before the fight, you have a week of brutal sparring for professionals. I mean, you have a week of
Hmm.
brutal sparring, and then you have 3 weeks to recover before the fight. But your weight has to be at the end. We've never ever seen. I've never had a boxer knocked out ever. None of my
Hmm.
boxers have ever been knocked out. Some have put in their butt, but they've never been knocked out. And I absolutely believe it's because the science changed. You know,
Hmm.
maybe good training, but
Yeah, sure. It changed for the best, you know.
yeah, yeah. So
And for sport as well, you know. We will always remember the records from the 100 meters dash, you know, since from the 100 years ago. Even so, though, like, the difference just of seconds from, like, I would say 11 seconds to the Usain Bolt record. It
yeah,
sounds like it's not a lot, but it is a lot. And
huge.
most of it is because the science is evolving, you know.
Yeah, and also because the tracks changed. They became a little bit more bouncy. The shoes changed. There's just so many different things that all add up to that 0.01 of a second. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's the same in boxing. Everything changed. The gloves. How the foam in the gloves changed.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, but away from the sport of boxing, there's the art of boxing, right? So you have the sport, which is where I make my
Hmm.
money. I make money from boxing. It's the business of boxing, and then you have the art of boxing. I believe the art of boxing is for everyone. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine
Yeah.
how two 6-year-old kids with gloves on, saying, right, put your hand on his forehead, right? One, two, and your job is to get out of the way of it, right? And you get them
Mhm.
used to doing that without hitting each other for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then get them to tap the forehead, and then they're used to that little tap and their body shots. And then by the time you get them to 3 or 4 years in, they're not going to be bothered if someone punches them in the face. It's normal for them, you know. Where,
Yeah,
where a young 9-year-old kid gets
we
punched in the
used
face,
to.
he's going to cry,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, sure. And it's about also about the discipline, about the work ethic, all about that. Besides that, they're also used to getting punched on the head.
It's
Yeah.
the hardest thing. I remember when I was first, I mean, as I say, I was 11 years old. A lot of my school friends boxed. So, you train for a few weeks and they put you in for a spar because I'm asking all the time, can I spar? Can I spar? Can I spar? And then I go in the spar with my friends from school and they punched my head off, man. I probably didn't even get a punch on them for the first few months, they were just so good. And they kept on hitting my nose, and my nose kept on bleeding. And because my nose hadn't yet got a sponginess to it, my eyes would water. And I swear, even to this day, I wasn't crying. That my eyes would water up every time I got
Water.
hit.
Yeah, that's normal.
I'd be like this, and then they all used to laugh and go, "Oh, you're crying." I was like, "I'm not crying." My eyes. And then it must have been, I don't know, maybe 3 months or something into it. I don't know. It was I joined boxing in the summer months, and I remember training with a hoodie on or something. So it must have been winter, but I just remember going, "Wow, my eyes are not watering anymore. My body,
Mhm.
or whatever, had got used to it. It didn't water anymore. Maybe I broke it a few times. I don't know, but and all of a sudden I could see things, and then I could start hitting them. It was amazing, and I just remember going, "Wow, wow, what an amazing
It's like on the
great."
Matrix, you start to see the Matrix.
Breakthrough, right? All of a sudden I can see everything, and it's like, what's going on? There you are, boom, boom. And then I started being
Yeah,
really good.
that's nice.
There's nothing
That's
better
nice.
than hitting someone. Someone hits you and then you get them back. There's nothing better than that feeling of.
Yeah, yeah, like you were being hit all the time by your mates, and then you start hitting back.
And then
It's feel different.
for the first time, they're not coming forward all the time. They're going back, and just the feeling of being able to hold that center of the ring and go, yeah, man, you're going to get hurt if you try and have. Because, man, like I say, when we were kids, we were brutal to each other. There was no holding back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There was cuts. There was black eyes every week. Um, yeah, I loved it. It was great.
yeah, yeah. That's nice. It's a really nice experience to anyone. The sport experience. For example, I also love running. And I remember the first marathon I did. It was really hard, because uh, the most that I trained was like 30 kilometers, 31 kilometers, 33, something like that. And for me, it was like, okay, so I can beyond that with the marathon, that is the 42 kilometers. But it's totally different because once you pass the mark that I would say that you never went further, you don't know what's there and you have to seek it out. It's really hard. So for example, on the marathon, I remember after kilometer 33, 34, I just broke. I couldn't even lift my knees to run anymore because your body's just shutting down. Your mind wants to stop. Your body's really tired. Your knees are swollen. Your feet are swollen.
Yeah.
It's just a nasty sensation, and you go, no, I need to finish this. I have to finish this. It was just like 9 or 8 kilometers left, and I just finished like marching. I just wanted to finish that shit because even
Mhm.
though I couldn't stand the pain, but it's a nice sensation because you feel like you surpassed yourself. It's one of the best sensations there is. Know that you overcame yourself and what you thought you could, what you thought it was your limit.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
It's amazing. When I've done a couple of marathons. I get what you're saying, but because I was in the military, I was in the Marines. Long distance running was something that we always did. We would go for a 10 mile, 10 mile,
Hmm.
you know,
16 kilometers.
16 kilometers, right? So we would do a 10 miler 3 times a day, 3 times a week. First
Hmm.
thing in the morning, you would all meet up as a team and you go out and you do it, and we'd run as a squad. Um,
Hmm.
when before you get past the Marines training, you have it's called the 30 miler, which is about 48 kilometers with
Hmm.
weapon, chest,
Yeah, that's a lot.
and you got to do it under 6 hours. I can't remember what I did. We smashed 6 hours. We were nowhere near it, but we did. But it's a long run, man. I'll show you. Hold on, let me just have a look. Yeah, it's across this type of terrain, um, and that the hardest thing is like this is the sort of Raw Marines.
Yeah,
That's not the 30 miler.
imagine.
It looks like this. So you set off in
Hmm.
group of four, across terrain like this, and
Yeah. Oh.
yeah, this is literally what you're doing. I don't know who that chick is. There's no Marine. There's no Marines with women, but um, yeah. But anyway, my point there is when you're in your mind, and even as a Marine later on, as you fight, as you're in your mind, you're walking across mountains for 8-9 hours. You hallucinate, man. Like you're on
Yeah.
acid. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like I'm talking about what you were mentioning to me there. The legs don't work, my body doesn't work, my mind doesn't work. It's like, yeah, that's when you push through and you realize the human body is actually quite something special, because just at the point you're about to give up, something happens and it goes again. Your body goes again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. I remember on the marathon at some point, I was like almost finishing the race. I feel like I could see my body from above. It's crazy. You can normally explain that to normal people. Who
No,
haven't
no, no, no,
experienced
no, no.
that.
It's something out of this
It's
body, right? That's what they say. It's out of this body. I think going through that type of experience like you have, and being a warrior and facing your fears and stepping into the combat zone with another human being,
yeah, even a war that's hard.
the war is different, man. Like I talk about the war in a way, like, I've been to many wars now, and I spent 5 years in Iraq. So there's nothing that a war can show me that I haven't already seen.
Hmm.
There's nothing about war that I haven't experienced. And now I'm 53 years old. I've not been in war since 2008, but 2008 to 2003, I was there all the time. I didn't do
Yeah.
tours. I was just in Iraq for 5 years. I took a couple of weeks off here and there, but I was always there. And it's amazing how you're you're afraid when you arrive, but then after a few days, the fear goes away. It's a weird thing. Do you mean now you're in the zone where you have no fear of death, you have no fear of taking life,
You just accept it.
you're just there,
Yeah.
and you've seen people die before, and you know that he died. He wasn't thinking straight that morning. He was making mistakes, or that person there is not doing that properly. It's like, wow, you really can't make a mistake. And I think that was the first lesson I learned. Everyone who's dying is making mistakes, or they're talking negatively. You got to fully focus on preserving your life and your friend's life. And if your mind falters for 1 minute, it seemed in my experience, it just seemed everyone who was faltering, something bad happened to them. So I was just like, all right, breathe, meditate. So every time you're on patrol, every time you're doing something else, it's almost like for me, it was like I was in a godly state, much the same as when we talk about going through that pain.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that you haven't got time to focus. You got to look in the close, you got to look in the foreground, the midground, you got to look at people's attentions, you got to look at how your friends are. As long as your brain is busy, you'll always be okay. That was my experience, so I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's deep because you can. It's a very hard experience, even to try to explain to people that haven't gone to war. I can imagine that situation. The only thing that I can compare myself was this type of flow state situation where your brain is, but at the field, it's a totally different thing. It's something that, like you said, you don't need to only pay attention to yourself, but also to your friends, to your team, because otherwise you can die. That's
Well,
basically it.
the whole philosophy of the being a commando is you don't need to look after yourself because we work in teams of four. So my responsibility is to look after the guy in front of me and the guy behind me. The guy in front of him, his job is to look after it. So we're all looking after two people at any one time, right? And,
Hmm.
and I've collectively looking after the group of three, not the group of four. And
Hmm.
everyone else should be doing the same. They're looking out for me and we're looking out for. So as long as you don't have a selfish or a selfless thought, you're always making sure the guy in front and the guy behind is safe. So you're looking out for them. You're not looking out for yourself. And I think that was one of the main reasons fear doesn't allow itself to get into you, because it's not you're worried about. Your responsibility is him and him.
I see.
Do you know what I
I
mean?
see.
So
I see.
it gives you a sense of responsibility for them. Um, genius, man. And there's this crazy difference. So you're a military guy, and that's how you think. You're never thinking about
Hmm.
yourself. You're always thinking about the next guy. Then you come into civilian life, and you start having the same ethos, and you're looking out for everyone around you, and then you realize no one's looking out for you, man. you know,
Yeah.
being a civilian and being a military guy is polar opposites, right? Because in civilian life, everyone's looking out for themselves. It's the total
Yeah.
opposite for the military, you know. So,
Hmm.
in my
Wow.
experience, it's a hard thing to, and that's why I'm glad I made the choice of opening a boxing gym after my military career, because
Hmm.
my responsibility was other people, you know, helping them become strong, helping them become more confident. I didn't need any feedback. I could see what was going on. I could get my kicks out of their strength, their
Yeah.
confidence. Do you know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
but there's always a sad story and a long story. But I
Yeah, wow, that's great, because now you're talking about this, your experience on the military. I see that when training, we have those kinds of insights, but in a minimal way. Like, okay, we have to look for each other, we have to be cautious, we don't want to make mistakes, but not at the level, because that would be the highest level. We need to be truly on this flow state, truly focused, look for each other. When training, we have a little peak on this, but not at this level, like I said. So yeah,
yeah,
it makes a lot of sense. It's
hey,
crazy.
I write about this in my first book. I think it was my sister, right? So I was describing to her um, what it was like in war when she was asking me about fear, right? And I said, look, if you let the fear become an overwhelming thought, you lose so much focus and so much concentration. You start taking chances to be safe. If you don't let the fear get in the way, you make good decisions about being safe. You don't cheat. You don't, maybe if we go this way, it's a shorter way, we'll miss the danger. You don't do that because that's where the risk is, right? Because of fear.
Hmm.
So I was explaining different levels of the feeling of fear, the anxious of the tight stomach, the shallow breathing, and things like that. And she said something amazing to me, man. This was after war. She went, "I feel like that when I don't think I can make a mortgage repayment." And I was like, "What?" And she said, "I have that feeling that you've just described when I can't make a mortgage payment. If I lose this house, I lose my job, I lose my kids, my everything goes
Yeah,
along with making that payment. And if I can't make that payment, that petrifies me. It freezes me and I can't work. I can't. And I was
concentrate.
like,
Yeah.
I'm getting shivers thinking about this. And I thought to myself, wow, I get it. In my mind, fear was extreme danger, the feeling of it. In her
Hmm.
life, the feeling of extreme danger wasn't losing her life, it was losing everything material that held her family together. It's
Hmm.
exactly the same emotion. It's exactly the same feeling. It's just a different circumstance. So to say that mine's, just come back to what you said there, mine's is at this level and yours is at this level, bullshit, man. Yours is the same level because these emotions are the same human reaction to a certain thing. So yeah, I've survived the war, so I can talk about it freely. But when it comes down to being in a civilian life, yeah, we should always respect the military. I think the veterans and military guys that are going through that because they have shown an amazing amount of bravery and courage. But at the same time, we should be passing on this knowledge to you guys because
Mm-hmm.
it's the same fight, man. It's the same fight, and we all need support. And at the end of the day, we should be there for each other. And in my opinion, in civilian life and every culture, everyone's out for themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe not in
Yeah.
a family environment, certainly, but a corporate environment, if
Mm-hmm.
someone get the promotion, they'll stand on you, guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah. I seen that, it's hard. It's nasty because people can say that a competition might try to bring perhaps the best, perhaps the worst. I seen it, and it brings the worst, because when people are making this competition for a place, for a better salary, a better job, anything, envy, anything at all the worst you can see, it's put on the table. There's no masks anymore, and it's something that it's hard, even if like on like I said, civilian life, the corporate life, it's nasty. You don't have that sense of a team to collaborate,
Yeah,
family, to look for the other, and it's hard. It's hard.
it is. But you know what, man? Even the most successful people have good moral compass. The short time successful people have none.
Yeah.
So if you're going for long-term success, that moral compass is what's going to attract you to the CEO level.
Hmm.
If you've not and you're chasing it, and you're only going to get to upper management level before someone sees it and flicks you away. In my experience, right? So short-term success driven, egotistic, narcissistic, nasty people who will do anything to
Yeah,
get there.
because people feel like they're a genius, right?
Yeah. But their longevity in business isn't that good. They might last a
Hmm.
couple of years, 3 years or 4 years, but they don't last 15. They don't last 20. Do you know what I mean? And for me, that's success, when you can say, right, okay, I took this career, I'm retired right now. I kind of regard myself as kind of successful, but not to the point that, I don't have ever to work again. I'm an author, I'm still writing. I would never think, I've got enough money that will last the rest of my life. That's a,
Yeah.
that's a dream, right? But I think in my experience, the people who go too fast and haven't got moral compass at some point reach a brick wall. Their mind either collapses or they get thrown out of the jobs that they're in. So I
Yeah.
think keep that moral value, that compass, that boxer spirit, that warrior spirit, because that is what gets you to the top. That
Hmm.
consistency of that personality. For me, it was the same. Being the head of security of the Iraqi government. I don't know how I did that. Who gets that job? It's usually a high-ranking bureaucrat or a high-ranking. I got it, man, and the only reason I got it is because of this personality, because the Iraqi people didn't like the hello, how are you? Okay, my name is Denny Denham, and I'm the officer in charge. They don't like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the Americans, their attitude would be like, yeah, man, I'm going to show you. And the Iraqis just repelled
Hmm.
against it. They didn't like both of those leadership styles. And then
Hmm.
in comes me going, all right, it's good to meet you. How are you? And speaking Arabic and kissing them and holding their hands when they talk to me. And all the English and all the Americans going, why'd you hold their hands? It's like, have you seen them talking to each other? I'm like, what? Look at them. The prime minister's talking to the president. They're holding hands. They're touching each other. They're being intimate. This is how they do it. They kiss themselves 6 times. Hold
Hmm.
their hands, man. Let them feel you. And it was because of these little things that I'd witnessed and thought, no, I'm going to show them I'm not repelled by that. I'm embraced the culture. And after the first year,
Hmm.
I was offered the job as the head of security of the Iraqi government because
Yeah.
they wanted me, they wanted me to be there. And I put that down to that consistency of being the personality that you are and the honesty and all that sort of stuff. But I think common day um, upper level of the governments who I work with, they have the same compass. They're looking for genuine people that they can take on the long journey. They see through the nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. It makes sense. And I don't know if I could say the same thing for the corporate life because I don't know if people on the superior level would say don't actually can't notice those this moral compass. I don't know if they give too much value to this. So I would say it's harder to the notice the people who have a high moral compass and can actually prosper in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think it's a little bit hard, because like I said, as is an environment that people tend to just use masks and show them the person that the other people want them to be. It's harder to show that moral compass, that empathy that you had for the culture. Even that you show it might be not enough because they might just choose other
Nicholas,
person because
Nicholas, take this bit of advice. Master the art of that.
yeah.
Master the art of that. To get where I am, I didn't just hug my way there. I was ruthless there.
Mhm.
When times to be ruthless, times to be ruthless. But what do you do after the ruthless moment? Do you show compassion or do you show vengefulness? You show
Mhm.
compassion. You win the boxing match and then you show compassion. So I agree with you. Like, wear the face. Whatever face they want you to wear it. It's business. Do you know?
Yeah.
But keep your moral values intact. Yeah.
Mhm.
People, in my opinion, and it's just here, I think people like tough people. Yeah. People want people in leadership positions that won't be abused. But they also
Mhm.
want people in leadership positions where they won't be out of control, right? Especially in corporate world, especially in business, right? If you say the wrong thing to
Mhm.
the wrong person, that company has a court case. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
If you're rude to a woman or rude to a gay guy or rude to someone saying they're a woman and they're a man or someone saying they're a man and a woman these days, I don't know what it's like in Brazil, but certainly in these, if you say the wrong thing or aggressive thing or you do something, that company is
Yeah.
going to go to court. And because of you, they'll probably get charged a lot of money. So it's really important to have a level head. And that's why I say these days it seems a little bit more where that moral compass has to be aligned as not to offend, as not to abuse, as to be as ruthless you can be within the guidelines of your operating procedures of your company. But
Mhm.
to be a leader, you got to be strong. You can't kiss your way to the top.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. It makes sense. Here in Brazil, this the I would say the woke
Yeah.
culture is also very strong. You have to be very careful with the words you're going to say. You
Language.
don't know if the person can be offended or not, so
Yeah.
you just have to be careful. But
You got
yeah,
the
it makes more
and
sense.
they're protected by employment laws, right? That's why you got to be
Hmm.
in a good place with your self confidence and your ability to lead. Because if you ask me in my personal life what I think about the woke culture, my first response would be the definition of woke. I am. I think people should have equal rights. People should have equal everything. They shouldn't be trodden down because perhaps they're this or perhaps they're that. No, I believe everyone should be equal. But I don't believe those minorities should now be the majority. You know, I don't believe women should
Hmm.
be attacked because they're women and that man is saying he's a woman. You can't hold on. I have a wife, I have daughters, I have a mother, I have grandchildren, aunts. They're beautiful women. They all deserve much credit because they had children, they've had careers, and they're feminine and they're strong. So no, they're a breed to their own. I'm not going to bring a guy with a beard in who's wearing a dress and got some lipstick on and call me no. I'll call you Mary, but you're
Yeah.
not a woman, mate. You know, I might call you mate. I'll probably call you him from time to time because I'm not accustomed to not doing that. But I'm not trying to offend you. It's just a Freudian slip. Take it to him over
Mhm.
there. Because, you know, you've got a beard and you've got a hairy chest and you've got hairy armpits. You look like a guy dressed as a woman. That's it. You know, so do that. Be you. No problem. But don't ask me to tell my woman friend or my wife, oh,
To do that.
go to the toilet with that woman. Oh,
Yeah.
no. You're
It
not.
doesn't make sense.
No, you're a man.
It's
You're not going
crazy.
to. You're not going to go to the ladies' toilets with my wife and my kids. I mean, you're not doing that. That's it. So I don't want to offend you, but these are the hard realities of the dying breed, or it's we call it the regeneration of the alpha male.
Yeah.
It's okay to be alpha. Do you know what I mean? They made us all feel like we were the bad guys, and it's like, well, hold on a
Yeah.
minute. I just want to protect my family and protect the people around me, and I'm strong enough to do that. So give me the opportunity. No, you're just
Mhm.
aggressive and arrogant. It's like that's my kids say, my youngest kids. You know, they go, "You're so homophobe." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Our best friends are gay." What? Steve's gay? It's like you've known Steve. Yeah, Steve and Alan are gay. It's like really? It's like, oh my god, that's how they
Yeah.
had that. It's,
It's hard because they want to impose that mentality to children as well. And that's something very problematic.
it's
Very problematic.
very
Like
problematic.
discussions about gender that should not be included to children in any way, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Who are you?
Discussions about.
We were about 14 years old when we had sexual education in high school.
Mhm.
The first time it ever was talked about was about 14 years old in school. I think that's
Yeah,
appropriate.
me too.
9 years old, 6 years old, perversion. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's sick.
I agree with that.
Do you know what I mean? Children
Yeah.
shouldn't be thinking about these things. And
Um, yeah, here in Brazil, we have a very strong culture about the quotas, racial quotas.
okay.
We even have a quota for trans people now.
DEI is that what we call it? Division, equity, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think they call it DEI. It's just employ the people. Employ the best people for the job.
Yeah.
Oh, that's racist. Well, it's not racist, man. You know, we want the best people in the job. That's it. And if you're going to, like, same as the military, you know, like I, I a lot of my friends, I would say like at least five of my friends, when they left the military, announced they were gay. Three of them, I was like, my God. Two of them, I was like, oh, we knew that. That was obvious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in that culture, they were like, look, we're not going to tell you until we're not in that culture. Fair enough, you know, because it's if someone's gay, it doesn't make any difference. If someone's leaving
No.
if someone's leaving the gym and dressing as a woman, but they've got a beard and a hairy chest, that's a weird thing to do. Man. It's a weird thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, I think the biggest problem is not that we need to respect and stuff. That's okay, but it's the imposition of that culture into the other ones. You know,
Yeah,
if for example, I have my house here and I have kids, I will teach and educate the kids in my way. I don't have
yeah.
to impose any other type of education or way the this culture wants, and it's
School,
just that.
school,
And
school is where you teach children the academic necessities to get a job. That's what
yeah,
school is. And through going to get this education, you learn social activities and socializing with other people. It's very simple, man. Give the kids, let them
mhm,
learn how to read, count, learn the sciences, the arts, history, and geography, and whatever else you want to teach them. But keep sexuality to the parents, or keep sexuality until they're in teenage years,
yeah,
when sexual promiscuity will probably be something that they have to deal with.
to deal with. Yeah,
You know what I mean? But when you're doing it as a kid, now all of a sudden you've got 5-year-old going, I'm a girl. And it's like, oh my God. Here we go. Hey, listen, Nicholas,
yeah.
time to great to meet you. Great conversation, man. Your English is
Thank you,
amazing.
coach. Thank you, coach. See ya. Thank you for your time, and the conversation was really a nice one. So
Thanks, brother.
thank you.
Hope
See
we'll
ya.
see you sometime.
Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.